Cipla Medpro is the third largest pharmaceutical company in South Africa with a market cap of 3.7 billion rand. Cipla provides medicines locally which are mostly manufactured by Cipla India. It reversed into Inaleni Pharmaceuticals shell in 2008 and is currently contemplating a partial buyout by Cipla India. It has a price to earnings ratio of 17 and a dividend yield of 1.6%. Well, a lot's been going on at Cipla. Paul,
there's always a lot going on at Cipla.
Indeed. Now, the CEO has finally decided to resign.
Yes, so the business was started, Medpro, that was by a guy called Jerome Smith, extremely colourful guy. The business then reversed into the Inaleni shell, which was a bit of a kind of failed listing back in the Alt-X boom. It then proceeded to go about its business in quite a progressive and attractive way, getting lots of licenses quickly. As Lavan said earlier, they buy the stuff from Cipla India, so you don't have to worry about copyright issues and that sort of thing. Because in India, they've got very weak intellectual property laws with regard to pharma. So the guys were making all sorts of stuff which works, and you can just ship it in here. The MCC checks it out. They make sure it's biosimilar, and you get the registration, and off you go. So they grew very fast, did very well. But unfortunately, Jerome Smith in the end was booted by the board because he was running the company like it was his own, personal operation, even though it's a big listed corporation. So now there was that awkwardness. There was a conversation going on. Now it appears that Cipla India are keen to take a half stake in the business. So that news is broken literally in the last few days. And you can see there at the end, that's why it's bounced back up to the 850 level. And all those that were talking about buying it ahead of a deal, because it was the worst kept secret in town, must be very relieved, because for a while there it looked as though the board was going to move all the deals off the table.
So, Lavan, Cipla India wanting to get 51% of this one, a good move for them? Good, was it positive for Cipla Medpro?
Look, it's been something that's been talked about for a while. Bear in mind, Smith, who had recently exited the business, as you mentioned, he was the link between India and the South African business. And many people had been putting question marks over this deal, wondering whether it can go through with Smith now not on the board. For what it seems, at the 850 level, it would appear to be full. The deal's likely to go through at about 855, 860. So if you're looking to buy into Cipla just for this particular deal, I think that might not yield big short-term gains. In terms of Cipla as a growth business, they've got a fair amount of prospects in the country and quite a few India brands that they're looking to introduce in time. And I believe that the future prospects are probably where you want to keep your eye on.
So when you look at future prospects, Paul, and that 855 like Laval is saying, is that a fair price?
Yeah, look, I think the transaction's going to end up being like when Walmart bought 50% of Massmart. In other words, you will be asked whether you want to A, just give up half of your shares, or B, give up all of your shares, or C, give up none of your shares. Locally, we know institutions quite like holding on to these things. So I think if you do want to sell out at 855, if you've been in there since 2 or 3 rand, that's an option. Otherwise, you'll probably be able to stay in and it'll probably stay listed. So that's probably, I think, a net positive. And remember, one of the things that people worried about was that they would lose the relationship with Cipla India, because at some point Adcock, which we were talking about earlier, actually sort of got a conversation going on with Cipla India, and people thought, what's this now all about? So I think it is net positive. On the product front, yes. I mean, they have got quite a lot in there. India is such an enormous country with so many people that they've been able to develop products there that have sold well. They got good manufacturing efficiencies. They advertise them here locally like that, asthma thing with hair loss products with Tox van der Linde singing, and then Bobby van Jaarsveld with a thing where he's out on a date wearing that gas mask, all those horrible ads. But, they sell well and the margins are good. So I think the business is going to do well. This is probably a good outcome for everybody.
So hot or not on it?
Yeah, I think in the light of the way that this deal has been resolved and the fact that it's now going to be still listed, I think it is time to call it hot.
Well, Levant, hot or not, Cipla Medpro?
Yeah, let me say I look at Cipla as India's foothold into the African pharmaceutical sector, and the Indian CEO has labeled it as such. When you consider the potential for earnings as they roll out through the continent, I've got to say hot, but I'd be a cautious buyer, and it's a portfolio stock. It wouldn't be one that you'd look at trading per se.
So 2 hots on Cipla Medpro.